Radiant team ban. Dire team ban.
Oh. I've just realized I've been muted this entire time. For those of you just joining us, welcome. I'm 49, Community Shoutcaster for the AGI Gaming Dota 2 National New Zealand Tournament. Just loading into game number 2 of TDT up against SSCT. Game number 1, TDT were able to win off the back of some amazing gyrocopter play, with the Death Ball push coming out from the Tidehunter, as well as the Death Prophet providing too much teamfight presence for SSCT to ignore. SSCT decided for whatever reason to play very passively with their Wraith King, who was in the 1 position role, and the Invoker, even though he went for a Cross Exalt build, was quite heavily shut down by the Death Prophet. Very greedy to pick up an Invoker when you don't have a team that can support him that well, or if you don't have supports constantly rotating mid to give him space. So for picks and bans so far, SSCT banning out the Bat Rider as well, so Lycanthrope, very standard bans. And it looks like TDT, they might ban out the Tidehunter themselves, since they know that SSCT have the first pick, and there we go, they don't want to deal with the Watermelon. SSCT will be interesting to see if they decide to pick up. They decide to go for a Darkseer, very interesting to see a lot of first pick Darkseers so far throughout the tournament. First picking Darkseer is usually something that you never want to do, unless you happen to have, unless you've got someone like Light of Heaven or Dendi playing the Darkseer, but even then, it gives away too much of your draft. Darkseer is an incredibly greedy offlane hero, similar to the Wind Ranger in the sense that not only does he need a lot of levels, he needs a fair amount of farm to be effective. The whole point of a Darkseer offlane is to get a very fast mech, but you can accomplish the exact same thing by sending his Tidehunter into the offlane, by sending a hero that's a lot more reliable, or even if you want to play a lot more aggressive, you can pick up someone like the Clockwork Goblin. Since the instant he hits level 6, he could go around from the map for kills. Darkseer, he can't really go for kills unless the enemy team misplays, unless the supports happen to do something stupid and find themselves alone, in which case you just walk them down with the Ion Shell. Very rare and very bad to rely on things like that. Invoker as well as the Mirana being picked up. Nardo Squirrel on that Mirana played a fantastic roaming Mirana support. Even without the Bane Elemental, she was able to consistently make plays on her own. So Darkseer as the offlane hero also completely limits the rest of your drafts. So you know that Darkseer is going to be the offlaner. You know that they probably want to go 1v3 and dodge your tri-lane then. Since Darkseer isn't the greatest 1v1 hero, there are a lot of other offlane heroes that could do very well against him. Especially if you have the luxury of being able to pick up a ranged hero up against Darkseer. If you're able to shut down the Darkseer, go for kills. Or even better, if you're simply able to outdraft them, since you know that by picking up a Darkseer, they're going to be forced to pick up heroes to synergize with the Darkseer, since otherwise the Darkseer pickup is completely wasted. So that means that heroes such as the Lich, the Sand King, Faceless Void, heroes that have a lot of AoE teamfight presence, they're going to be first priority for the enemy team. So you already have an idea of what the enemy team is looking to draft. So by picking up a Darkseer that early on, you're giving away your hand and showing off that they're going to go for a wombo combo teamfight lineup. And there you have it, you've got Sand King immediately being picked up. So Sand King is a very greedy 4-position support hero, but he makes up for it with the fact that unlike another greedy support such as the Visage or such as the Shadow Shaman, he could find farm and experience on his own. All he has to do is walk in, keep stacking neutral creeps, clear him out with the Sandstorm, play a little bit of Darude while he sits there chilling out, get his farm that way. If he's able to get a very early Blink Dagger, if he's not punished, then he could run around the map creating a lot of space for the rest of his team. Bane Elemental immediately being banned out by SSCT, so this time they're playing to the hand that TDT have dealt them. They're reacting to that draft, and that means that they're going to be forced to ban out the SD as well. If TDT have also practiced with the SD, or even then, Nardo Squirrel has been very on point with the Mirana. They might not even decide to go for any pick for any heroes that could help set up the error. They wisely ban out the Tinker. Tinker, incredibly powerful hero, even more so with the Darkseer, since Darkseer makes it that much incredibly difficult to breach high ground, just because you constantly have to be wary of the vacuum to wall combination, and with the vacuum to wall to epicenter, as with March of the Machines and missiles flying out on top of that, very difficult to break high ground, assuming the enemy team is able to execute the defense accordingly. SD now being banned out, so SSCT forced to ban 2 heroes just to counteract 1 Mirana pick, which most likely will be the 4-position Mirana. So TDT, the draft clearly has the advantage in this case, just because he's able to predict how SSCT will draft. And so they've given away their hand too much already with the Darkseer as well as the SK. All they have to do now is either go for heroes that could counter-initiate and beat their team fight, so by picking up somebody like a Naga Siren to use the Song of the Siren to disrupt their combination, picking up someone like an Enigma to go in for those huge black holes, be able to catch them out of position when they group up, picking up someone like a Faceless Void who can initiate on them and prevent their first strike advantage, and that's what they rely on. Darkseer wants to blink in, get that vacuum so that Sand King can burrow strike in with the epicenter and follow up with the wall. If you're able to initiate on them, Then you can mitigate that factor. So they decide instead they're going to ban out the Faceless Void. They don't want to deal with the possibility of having to deal with a vacuum into Chronosphere. Just pausing to take a drink of water. So TDT now deliberating on their third pickup. Will be interesting to see who they choose to pick up. Their draft is a lot more flexible. However, they do have the Invoker pickup, which is a very greedy mid pickup. In this case, since I have so much huge wombo combo, you don't want to go for the Quas Exalt build. Since if they group up as 5, there's nothing you could really do. You could provide a small amount of damage to 1 or 2 targets, but in a prolonged team fight, or if you're fighting 5v5, Quas Exalt Invoker doesn't have enough utility or enough damage to really be effective, unless if he's able to completely crush his lane. So most likely it will be a Quas Wex Invoker to help counteract the Sand King, since if you could catch out the Sand King before he could blink in, or if he's channeling his Epicenter and you catch him out with the Tornado, or with the Cold Snap, or even with the EMP, Tornado into EMP can single-handedly win fights for the first 20 minutes, just because if the enemy team doesn't have mana, they can't do anything. They're just glorified creeps at that point. Sand King has a very limited mana pool. Once again, they're deciding to pick up Wraith King, so that could be a 5 or 4 position Wraith King in conjunction with the Mirana. Wraith King works very well with Mirana, since not only do you have a 2-second stun, you've got a 2-second snare, and so it gives Mirana's arrow all the time in the world it needs to be to travel and hit its target. It's the reason why, if you do decide to go for a setup ability, you want a stun that has a long duration, or a stun that also has a snare built in. Disruptor being picked up, so that's more to work once again with the Darkseer, as well as a counter pick, since Disruptor hard counters the Darkseer during the lane stage of the game. When Darkseer surges and runs away, you just simply glimpse him back, trap him in the kinetic field, and blow him up. Since Darkseer is so dependent on utilizing Surge to stay alive. That being said, once again, they're revealing that hand with that wombo combo teamfight presence. If you're able to get a good vacuum into Burrow Strike Epicenter with the Static Storm kinetic field, you can win fights, but the only drawback to that is there are too many moving pieces in SSCT's draft. If they happen to have one of their abilities on cooldown, for instance, if Vacuum's on cooldown, if he's unable to vacuum the right number of targets, and how do you counter a wombo combo? You go for an Omni Knight, you've got Repel, which just gives any hero on your team an excuse, a license to kill. You run in, completely immune to anything that could throw at you, especially with the current 3 picks. If you repel a target, say the Wraith King, there's nothing any of the enemy heroes can do to you. Disruptor is completely useless the instant they have any kind of magic immunity. So is Sand King, although he could at least escape, utilizing the Sandstorm as well as the Burrow Strike to avoid damage. And Darkseer can at least surge away. But on top of that, Omni Knight, if he's able to keep himself alive with the Repel, especially with the recent buff, so 34% snare with the Repel, not for the Repel, for the Degen Aura at level 4, with a 2-second sticky, so if you leave the Aura radius, you'll still be snared for 2 seconds. It means it's very easy for Omni Knight to just stay on top of you and keep whacking you, and the Guardian Angel completely negates any kind of physical DPS coming out from your team, which in this case is absolutely none. They've got no physical DPS. The only DPS they have from physical sources is the Darkseer illusions, as well as the occasional Puck right click. So Puck going 1v1 up against the Invoker, he's going to have a very easy time. Puck should be able to handedly win this matchup, even if Invoker is forced to go Quas Exalt, just because he could easily destroy the attacks coming out from Invoker. But that being said, if Puck gets a bit too cocky, if he gets a bit too greedy and overextends, Invoker can catch him out with the Cold Snap and then blow him up. So good recognition from TDT, banning out Anti-Mage, the traditional full protect 1 hero. Since with this lineup you want to delay fights until your carry gets huge, then take fights, and then completely destroy them with the Battle Fury Cleave coming out from the Anti-Mage, as well as the Mana Void. So it'll be interesting to see how this Omni Knight plays. It could be seeing an offlane Omni Knight, since if he's able to skill up Repel at 1, so there's absolutely nothing you can do to him. So if he goes with Boots first, point up and Repel, then for the next few points, maybe get a few points up in the Degen Aura, skipping the Purification, or he could choose to prioritize the Purification with just 1 value point in the Repel to keep himself alive as a Get Out Jail free card. Silencer wisely being banned out just because he also hard counters their wombo combo lineup. He presses R, and all of a sudden, all 4 heroes and 4 of the 5 heroes in your team are completely useless. And the 5th hero, depends on what they pick up, but even then, he could just be doing nothing but swinging his fists around. 5th pick coming out from TDT. And they're going for a Sniper, so it's going to be a Sniper tri-lane with the Mirana as well as the Wraith King as support. Omni Knight over in the off lane and Invoker in the mid lane. Sniper's a hero that has been significantly buffed. He's incredibly powerful to deal with just because he has the best time on target of any carry in the game. And time on target is essentially how long you're hitting an enemy hero. Since if you're playing a hero such as a Lifestealer, you've got good time on target when you have Rage as well as the open wounds up, and when it's down, it's very easy to kite you. That's the reason why Wraith King tapers off so much as a carry, and why in the pro scene you usually see Wraith Kings build Blink Dagger as their first or second item, is because he has god-awful time on target outside of the Wraith Fire Blast, so it's very easy to kite him around once you pick up Ghost Steps and the Force Staffs. Sniper doesn't have that issue. He's got 950 range. He can sit there and plink at you all day, and there's absolutely nothing you can do. Sniper's biggest drawback, however, is the fact that while he's got excellent time on target, in the early stages of the game he lacks damage and he's very squishy and very easy to deal with, especially considering the amount of blink initiators they have. And speaking of the devil, they're going for the Lifestealer. So it'll be interesting to see how Lifestealer fares up against the Sniper, especially considering the fact that you've got Repel and Guardian Angel to deal with. Sniper excels with a team that's built around keeping them at bay, basically being bodyguards, shoving the enemy away, being bouncers, keeping them from being able to get to you. So it'll be interesting to see how this lineup goes. Notra, the offlane player, yeah, he's going to be on the Omni Knights. There's an offlane Omni Knight with Eyewalker in the mid lane as the Invoker, so he got a bit sick of the Invoker in the last game, saying, hey buddy, let me show you the Invoker. He's going to be running over to the mid lane. So just going to quickly introduce the players from both teams. Over from SSCT, we've got Enlon over on, this time he's going to be over in the Darkseer. KW7142 over in the mid lane Puck. Lucky Shot's going to be that 5 position Disruptor. NZ Rain, usually the offlane player, he's going to be the 4 position tanking this guy. And Solo, the carry player, he actually chose to skill Feast at 1. Very surprisingly, he chose to skill already before even getting into lane. You usually want to hold your skill point, especially on a hero like a Lifestealer, where it can mean the difference between getting a kill, not getting a kill, or even getting killed. Omni Knight in the bot lane immediately wastes no time, runs over, he's going to place a safety ward and be very defensive, boots up on him, hasn't chosen to skill a point yet. But if he knows that he's going to be against the tri lane, he can choose to skill the repel. Otherwise, if he's going 1v1, he can go for a degen or the repel or the purification. Sniper at level 1, she's going to go for a headshot. Looks like he's going to be going towards phase boots. Has a lot of mobility for the sniper, so it's one of the things you have to keep in mind with snipers. Positioning is absolutely everything. If you've got a player that's good with his positioning, you can constantly stay away from the enemy, and the rest of your team is able to buy you space by blocking them, preventing them from getting to you. You can single-handedly win entire fights just by cutting them down. Run the ward up on him. No sentry this time, so the safety ward of the enemy offlaner will not be counted. Unconventional safety ward once again being placed by Notra. He's going to use it to keep himself alive, to at least force them to waste our sentries if they decide to ward it off. Lucky Shots, waiting the wings, is going to be placing a defensive observer ward here to provide vision of the ancients, as well as over this area, so if they decide to gank it all. This time, both mid lane heroes deciding to go for some body blocking, and Invoker forced to go for a cross exile if he wants to compete with the Puck, since otherwise Puck has a substantially higher right click damage than him. Bit unfortunate considering the fact that he would prefer to have cross Wex, especially against his wombo combo lineup, since having the Tornado EMP can single-handedly win you fights in the early stages of the game. Immediately you see off the bat that the block was successful, gives him the high ground over the Puck, and so he's going to do the best that he can to try to get as many last hits up against the Puck, who has superior base damage. He can't really go to trade hits on the Puck until he has Cold Snap up, just because Puck can otherwise phase shift away. You can't hit Puck, or try to trade right clicks with Puck, who usually skills phase shift at 1. So Puck doing very well in controlling the lane, 4 last hits. Last hits are more important in the early stages of the mid lane than denies. Denies are more important than last hits, just because if you're able to get level 2 before they can, in some matchups you actually can go for a kill, or you could try snowballing your lead. Sniper being the farm away uncontested, non-lon. No safety wall on him. Not even any sentries. So it looks like he didn't even bother to go for a safety ward. Playing very safe. Actually forced to skill Surge at 1. This is a critical mistake for the Darkseer. He's actually completely useless now. If the support players recognize this, and if they're constantly in his face, he might not hit level 2 for the next few minutes, especially if the carry player is good at controlling the creep equilibrium. The reason why you never want to skill Surge at 1 is you can't do anything to get CS at all, even if you hang back and play super safe. If the enemy support players are good, if they're able to double pull, control the creep equilibrium, the carry player is able to keep denying you. Like, look at Crapback right now. He's simply standing in front of him, preventing him from even getting an EXP range. If the support players are good at controlling creep equilibrium, and if the carry player is also good at maintaining his denies, you're not going to hit level 2 for a very long time. And you're a hero that's already completely dependent on getting a lot of EXP and gold, and it shuts you down even further. You usually want to go for Ion Shell at 1. One of the things that a lot of Darkseer players like to do is they'll double shell the creep wave, so that way it dies before the support heroes can react to it, and it ensures that you get level 2 very quickly on. Solo over in the bottom lane, choose to scale Rage. So a very defensive build coming out from him, even though they're in the aggressive tri lane against an Omni Knight. If he skill open wounds, he could at least try to force an engagement, or if they're able to catch out Omni Knight before he repels, they can at least go for a kill attempt. But at the moment, Notra, once again, level 3, compared to the level 2.5 Darkseer, who's only now just got an Ion Shell. And that's only because the support players were sloppy on their creep equilibrium. As you see the Mirana, guarding the top, Mirana's core actually throws out an arrow. Actually hits the creep, almost hit the Puck, at least forces up the phase shift. So the Puck's a little bit wary. But it's pretty difficult to be able to land the arrow on a hero such as a Puck, since if they see or hear the arrow, all they have to do is either walk away or press E right before it hits you. And without the setup of the Wraith King in this case actually choosing to skill crit, even though he's playing in that 4 4/5 position role. You usually want to go for stats at level 2, so you have enough mana to be able to throw out your Wraith Fire Blast twice. Assuming if you don't have any stat items. If you have stat items, then you want to go for a point up in the Vampiric Aura. Arrow Lance as well, but they unfortunately stacked the stuns. They weren't able to stagger them enough, so that could actually mean that they don't get first blood. But then again, non-lon. Gleamful Zoe actually turns around. Nutterscore actually could be taking it. He's dead. That's actually first blood going in favor of the Radiant side. Huge misplay coming out from the players over in TDT. They actually stacked their stuns. Mirana had waited half a second more before he threw out her arrow. Would have been a kill. And no sure the point up in the Degen Aura is going to be very difficult to be able to go for a kill attempt up on him. Especially with the fact that it also reduces attack speed. It doesn't seem that significant, but considering that Lifestealer is a strength hero and doesn't have much AGI gain or much attack speed to begin with, can be quite critical. Very surprised with how that gank went. Darkseer is very happy with that. It's a freebie that he got. Iwalk being heavily harassed down the mid. Looks like he chose to start with Blades of Attack as opposed to the Null Talisman, which provides the exact same amount of damage as well as a bit of stats. They're usually the preferred build-up. The only disadvantage of it is it doesn't build into anything, so it looks like even though he's going Quas Exo, he's building towards a Phase Boots, which is something that you usually see on the Quas Wex Invoker, since when you move fast, you might as well move faster. So very questionable play coming out from the Invoker. It's usually on the Invoker, you stick with Naked Boots. You want to get your Midas up as soon as possible. And then you probably just stick on Naked Boots for a long time, build up your other items, especially if you're going to go for the Zoo build. Or if you're going for the Yule Scepter, you could even just pick up something like a Tranquil Boots. Lifestealer in the bottom lane, choosing the max out open wound, so he's at least going for an aggressive posture. No true, just because he's against 2 melee heroes as well as a Disruptor who's mostly been pulling. He knows that he could use the Purification right now to not only get CS, but also harass back solo. Is copying a lot of damage. And No True's been given so much space over in this bottom lane. He should not be receiving this much space. And if Omninot's able to get a lot of levels, get a lot of farm, he can completely turn the game around for TDT. Just by being able to provide that critical repel during team fights, to be able to provide that Guardian Angel, just to walk in and be a nuisance, to be able to prevent them from escaping. But while I say that, first blood actually goes in favor of Puck, as he's once again Mirana overcommits. And Puck with a double damage, able to smack her around. Not a good day to be a squirrel, it seems. Iwalk, Phase Boots up on him, so he's hitting incredibly hard. But that's 900 gold invested. That could have gone towards your Midas. That would have provided you a lot more mid-game presence. So he's instead he's got to be very careful actually. Puck could go for a kill if she had Dream Coil up. Unfortunately, looks like she used it to go for to kill the Mirana when she rotated on her. Sniper actually maxing out Shrapnel. Very interesting build coming out from Sniper. You usually see Sniper players max out either the headshot or the take aim, depending on how they like to play. Maxing out Shrapnel does have a lot of benefits. It means that you get a lot of free chip damage on towers. It's a very powerful snare, especially if you combine it with the Wraith Fire Blast as well as the arrow. But in this game, it actually might be more beneficial if they went for points over and take aim, since it meant that Mirana wouldn't have had to dive the tower. Sniper could get one more right click in. And it means that you could do a lot more chip damage on towers. You just right click the tower instead of to commit the Shrapnel. But that being said, Shrapnel is a very powerful and somewhat underestimated ability. It's a good way to be able to push as well as defend pushes. And the vision that it uses can be used to help set up Assassinate, especially if the enemy team is forced to fight under it, which with the Degen Aura, it's a lot of snare coming out from the enemy team.
Oh, that's got to hurt.
Iwalk forced to have all 3 Quas as his regens just because he needs the sustainability coming out from it. Puck, ward flying out to him. If he's able to get a very fast blink dagger in the next couple of minutes, he can run around and make space for the rest of his team. Chose to go for the very conventional Puck build, maxing out the Illusory Orb. Then he's probably going to max out the Waning Rift. No threat, Arcane Boots up on him. He has received so much space and so much farm. He now has, whenever the sports rotate away, he could make the Lifestealer's life an absolute living hell just by spamming out the Purification to get CS and also to take chunks out of Lifestealer's life. Lifestealer does have the advantage of having Feast, as well as Rage. You can actually Rage dodge the Purification since Omni has a very slow cast point, 0.56. So it means that if you're playing an Omni Knight, the enemy team, if they pick up a Rubik, you're essentially screwed. You can steal any one of your abilities and he's already a better hero than you are. Just because Rubik has 0 cast point. So for instance, Rubik steals a Purification. Instant Purification flying out. Shrapnel flies out on Non-Lon. Non-Lon surges himself. He's going to back away. But they're going to do a lot of chip damage in the tower.
Middle tower is under attack.
So the Understanding once again, playing very actively as a one position player. Trying to create space for the rest of his team by going for kills, by going for towers. iWalk being really heavily zoned out, shut down. Teams seem to be continuing to pick the Invoker, despite the fact they don't have the best lineup to really capitalize on the Invoker. Or necessarily the best player to be to win these one-on-one engagements. He's been heavily beaten in terms of CS and last hits. When you pick up a hero like an Invoker, you want to ban heroes like the Puck or the TA that could traditionally beat the Invoker in a one-on-one mid to at least make sure that the Invoker breaks even. In this case, Invoker isn't coming anywhere close. Puck is severely outlast hitting him, and that means that Puck essentially has a free lane for when it comes to CS. That means he'll be able to get a very early Blink Dagger. If he keeps up the rate he's farming, another 3 minutes he'll be having like 11.5 minute Blink Dagger. And then he'll be able to raise all kinds of ruckus against the enemy team. So a few lag spikes happening here and there. Do a quick golden EXP check. Only 1,000 EXP lead in favor of SSCT. That's just due to the fact they've got kills and a lot more efficient with their last hits. And that's showing with a 2,000 gold lead despite no towers dropping. That's a quite significant lead in favor of gold for SSCT. Omni Knight probably wants to max out his Degen aura next, just so he could get up in people's face and provide that snare, give Sniper all the time in the world to be the right-click people down. Repel is very powerful on. He actually could choose to max out the Repel as well, but usually Degen aura is a lot more important early on in the game. Since 6 seconds of Repel is usually all that you need, Crapack's going to be taking one more right-click. They keep rotating on the Puck, and every single time it doesn't seem to quite work out for them, just because actually looks like Sunstrike wasn't even committed for this. So not too sure what Wraith King was doing there to begin with. Invoker could have at least tried to commit the Sunstrike, but since Wraith King's Wraithfire Blast, well, on paper it's probably the most efficient single target stun in the game. It's incredibly slow projectile speed, makes it very difficult to be able to land on heroes such as a Puck or heroes with a Blink Dagger or a blinking ability. It's very easy to disjoint. And speaking of Blink, SK has been chilling out, listening to some Darude in the background. Just picked up his Blink Dagger, no boots up on him, no boots required. He can easily be able to farm that up. Having a Blink Dagger first on Sand King gives you a massive amount of teamfight presence, as well as ganking presence solo. Gotta be pretty careful, he's actually pretty low right now. Repel being dropped on the Omni Knight to keep himself alive from all that Static Storm, the Thunderstrike damage. All but Venom up on him. And 2 points up in the Degen, so it looks like he's going to be maxing out that Degen aura. So all he has to do is stay alive in these fights and get amongst it. Snare the enemy team. Copy a fair amount of damage. Actually pops the Guardian Angel. Once the open wounds wears, the rage wears off, sorry, he can actually turn off a purification kill, but forced to blow Guardian Angel and then TP's out. That's a 2.5 minute cooldown that's been wasted for very little gain. If he was able to at least get a kill or to force the Lifestealer back, but wasn't able to do anything. Forces out the Infest at least, but even then, not really a worthwhile trade. But that being said, he at least keep himself from dying. While I say that, Invoker dying over in the mid lane. Looks like Sand King was able to show off his Blink Dagger, going for a kill. Epicenter was not used, so it looks like Waning Rift was used once again. A few cheeky right clicks and a Waning Rift. Blink Dagger up on Puck, so 11 minutes into the game. iWalk's been completely shut down. Looks like is he going phase Drum with that Bracer? Interesting build coming up from the Invoker. That's the biggest issue with the Invoker is because he's a semi-carry hero, he's very greedy in lane, but at the same time you also have to let him get solo EXP. He's an incredibly greedy hero that can only sometimes be utilized very well. Omni Knight called out, no repel this time. Gonna use that purification, actually gets a kill on the Sand King. Good play coming up from him. Probably wishes he had a magic stick right now to at least keep himself alive, but the range creep of the power gets that last hit. Seals his fate, but still then again, trading a life at least for one of the support heroes. Not too shabby indeed. The understudy looks like he's going for S and Y. He seems to have an obsession with that item. And we're 2 points up in the take game. He now outranges the tower, so he can keep niggling away at the tower. They really need to break this tower and start picking up some of their big items. Invoker, yeah, he's definitely going phase Drum. Very, very interesting build coming up from the Invoker. Not really too sure I agree with it. You usually, if you're going for the Quas Exalt, you are almost forced to go into the Hand of Midas. If you don't, the only other viable alternative is the Yule Scepter, but while I say that, Sand King making space all around the map. Still hasn't used his Epicenter yet, just a Blink Burrow Strike is enough on the Sniper. And the early double Blink up for SSCT could prove to be quite painful for the Sniper, since he's got no one to really help bodyguard him at the moment, especially with Guardian Angel down. And especially if the Puck is actually able to catch out the Omni Knight with the Waning Rift. He's unable to repel him then, and you can easily blow up the Sniper in the 3-second window of opportunity you have when he's silenced. But while I say that, once again, Invoker taking the fall. A Sand King blinking around the map, creating so much space. That's 3 kills in the past minute and a half he's been involved in. Puck almost has his treads. Puck hasn't even really been rotating around the map. He's just been sitting mid, doing what he can to shut down the Invoker. Mirana hanging around mid lane. He's going to be picking up level 5 very shortly. But this is a 5 position round that hasn't really accomplished all too much compared to the Wraith King. Still choosing to go for no points over in the aura. Point over in stats, however, arrow flies out, gonna completely whiff. Might have spotted out Puck using the invis room, but then again, might not have. Now this girl actually has to be very careful. Puck can actually blow up the Mirana right now, especially with some spot rotator, but never mind. The other side is actually gonna get 2! Double loser roll, double a waning rift. Fantastic plays coming out from the Puck, as the underside drastically underestimates the power of the... what happens? Repel, epicenter, wasted, so ends of range gonna be taking it for one more right click. Drastically underestimating the power of the Puck. Especially that maxed out Waning Rift. Waning Rift over on Notra. Notra actually could be taking a fall. His Purification will be off cooldown in a few more seconds. Forced to blow Guardian Angel. Gonna go for a repel. Actually lands it over on Puck. Puck has a illusory orb. He's gonna jump out. Doesn't have a long enough duration with the phase shift. And actually catches the arrow in the face. Vacuum trying to buy himself a little bit of space. But he finally ends his spree. So good return kills coming out from TDT. Able to end that spree. Get a few kills of their own. So even though they lost a few, losing their carry as well as the Mirana, they were able to at least return the favor. Go for 3 kills of their own. Omni Knight, he's on mech duty. He'll be picking it up fairly shortly at the rate that he's farming. And with a maxed out degen aura, it's doing a lot of work on these fights. If he's tanky enough to be able to sit in the front line and constantly get in the face of the enemy team, that degen aura alone could be enough reason for them to be able to win these engagements, just because it prevents them from from closing the distance against the sniper. So if sniper hangs back, if he has repel up on him, so they can't blink and burrow strike him or blink and waning rift him, all he has to do is hang back and just keep plinking people. Regen room being spotted out. Puck actually chose to go for phase boots. Personally, I don't really agree with phase boots pick up on Puck, just because you need the extra bit of survivability you can, so you could keep yourself alive. While phase boots does give you a little bit more chasing, a little bit more damage, you're one of the most mobile heroes in the game, especially once you pick up a blink dagger with the illusory orb as well as the blink. Phase seems like a bit of overkill when considering the stats and the attack speed, especially since Puck right clicks very hard, gives you a lot more presence. That being said, seems to be a point of preference. While I say that, going in for a 2-man Dream Coil. Notra forced to use Repel to keep his teammate alive. Sunstrike actually unfortunately going to miss. Arrow also whiffs as well. Solo crawling along as that degen aura doing work. If he eats a Purification to the face, he could be in a lot of trouble. Actually, the Waning Rift, great play coming out from the Puck. He's going to get a kill over Notra, never mind. Stick charge was not enough. Solo fleeing for his life. Crap Pack's got stun coming up in a few seconds, but he's going to reincarnate as well. Disruptor actually is able to kill off them around. The Crap Pack's going to die and feed the reincarnate. That's a critical reincarnate cooldown they've just blew it. Static Soul's being dropped. He's going to be dying again. There's nothing he can do to go for a return. An SSCT. Fantastic comeback coming out from them compared to game number 1. And the Puck player, while he wasn't the greatest Invoker, really is showing off his skills over in the Puck. The greedy Invoker player, it seems to be the curse of Midas. You go for the greed of the Invoker pickup and you seem to be losing these engagements. Sunstrike unfortunately split across 2 heroes. Doesn't do all too much damage. Phase drum up on the Cross Exalt Invoker. Very questionable build coming up from him. Not really too sure what the justification for it is. If he's building a phase drum as if he's playing a Cross Wex Invoker, but on the Cross Exalt Invoker it doesn't quite work. With the Cross Wex Invoker, the reason why it works is you have such high mobility that no one can evade you, no one can escape you, just run them down. You pretty much have a free haste ring at all times, and you're able to consistently be able to follow up damage with the extra tornado, with all the right clicks that you get, and with the Cold Snap. On Cross Exalt Invoker, where you don't have anywhere near that amount of mobility, it's essentially just wasted items. You could have had a Hand of Midas for now, even though it would be a catch-up Midas. It at least enabled him to help recover. Considering that in terms of net worth, Invoker is actually incredibly low. The Darkseer, who's completely shut down the early stages of the game, the Darkseer went Surge at 1, now has more net worth than he does. The Sand King, who spent most of the game in the jungle, now has more net worth than he does, and almost more levels. Sniper over in the top lane, blown up by Puck. Absolutely on-point plays coming out from KW7142. Regen rune up on him. Looks like he could actually be going for a Dagon. Dagon would be a great pickup, especially considering the fact that Omni Knight keeps eating the Waning Rifts. He's not positioning himself in a way that it forces the Puck to either choose to Waning Rift him or Waning Rift the other hero. And in which case, if he Waning Rifts the Omni Knight, could probably blow him up as well, with the sheer amount of burst damage coming up from Puck. The buff to Puck's base damage is single-handedly the reason why you never see Queen of Pain, just because Puck does everything Queen of Pain does, but a lot better and a lot more reliably. All Queen of Pain really provides is damage. Puck provides damage as well as utility and lockdown. You've got the 3-second AoE silence, which is straight up overpowered if you could land on 3-4 heroes. You could completely determine a team fight off that. Dream Coil locks them in place, makes your other AoE abilities much easier to land. And then if you're able to pick up a Blink Dagger, you have more mobility in the Queen of Pain, since you've got both the Blink as well as the Illusory Orb. Puck pinging something else, but actually being caught by an arrow, but he's got a Dagon up on him. He actually used it earlier on Notra, causing a lot of damage up on him. Notra nowhere near his mech. He's about halfway through it. But he hasn't been finding space to farm. Looks like there's a gank happening over into the mid lane. They want to kill this Invoker once again. Shut him down even further. Blink Power Strike, Blink Waning Rift, as well as the Illusory Orb. One more right click. And there we go. Iwalk takes the fall. Nothing he could do there. He had fast fingers. He could have invoked Ghost Walk and kept himself alive by destroying that last hit. Also blew a drum charge for nothing. So huge waste of resources over the Invoker's end for no gain. Meanwhile, on the bottom lane, you see that Solo looks like he's going for a Basher as his next big item. Armlet up on him. Phase Drum makes a lot more sense on the Lifestealer just because he's a melee hero that relies on getting close. He has higher than average movement speed to begin with, and with the Phase Drum, you can't run away from him. He runs up in your face, pops the open wounds, pops the rage, goes to town on you, and then keeps chasing for more if he decides to pop drums. On the cross exiled Invoker, doesn't really make all too much sense. Wraith King, he's a support hero that relies on having a good early game, and while he does have a fair few kills to his name, and while he was able to pick up Reincarnate fairly early on compared to what you usually would see from a support player, the rest of his team hasn't been able to leverage the advantage of his Reincarnate. It's only just going to be coming off cooldown in the next 40 seconds. Sniper as well, despite the fantastic early start he had, with Darkseer being able to do absolutely nothing. Despite going for that little fantastic 4-man Dream Coil, fortunately Static Storm was a bit off. Epicenter on top of that, however, is going to make up for it. No abilities being cast by the Omni Knight. NZ Rain eats an arrow to the face. Never mind, sitting there in Sandstorm, listening to some Druid. So we're going to run down the understudy. He knows that he's got the Infest. They keep himself alive, need be. They're only able to get one off the back of it. NZ Rain unfortunately whiffs his Barrow Strike. And for all that expenditure of abilities, only able to get one kill. Great split coming up from TDT, immediately ensuring that the Static Storm didn't catch. The Static Storm or the Kinetic Field latched on top of that. That would have been game over and lights out. Puck actually eats a stun to the face as well as the Assassinate. The understudy now confirmed as Lee Harvey Oswald assassinating JFK from halfway across the map. Crabpack leading the charge. He wants to get a Blink Dagger of his own so he can get up in the face and stun people. Once again, Mirana forced to go over to the Arcane Boot, so he's going to be providing that mana support for the rest of his team. Invoker looks like he's probably going to be going either for the Yule Scepter or towards the Force Staff. If Yule's playing across Wex Invoker, Force Staff usually is the you build if you're going for this old school Phase Drum build. Nowadays, you see cross Wex Invokers going for an Orchid Rush. Blink Dagger up on the Darkseer, as well as the Cranium Basher up on the Lifestealer, so you've got a lot more teamfight presence. I was talking earlier about how SSCT, their draft was a lot weaker than TDT in terms of how obvious it is. It's very easy to read, but that being said, they've been making it work. Not only is it important in the draft, it's also all about the execution, and they've been executing a lot better than I'd expect, especially considering the state of game number 1. Solo able to get a free kill. Purification, the repel meant that you couldn't purify, but even then, glimpses him back, glimpses back the Wraith King. They're able to get a kill over in Solo, but Crapback locked in place. That's a Dagon level 3. Open the puck. Dagon level 2, never mind. Catches out 3 with the Dream Coil. Illusory opens himself to safety. Guardian Angel dropped too late. Doesn't stop you from the Dagon. Nothing going to protect you from that, apart from maybe the Repel, but that's on cooldown. Still has Purification, hasn't used it yet. Might want to use it over on his carry so that Puck can't walk in and just blow him up. Dagon already has been used. Waning Rift actually completely whiffed by the Puck. Blink Bar Strike ends Nocho's life with NZ Rain doing what he can. Trap actually doing a lot of damage. Sniper's actually able to get a kill. Now this girl blinks in, leaps in, drops the Sentry will prevent NZ Rain from the Sandstorm out, but he's able to eventually chase down the Sniper. He's going to be able to get another kill, another Squirrel, if another Squirrel continues to persist, but no, he's forced to back away. Then there's a Radiant Sentry Wall to prevent the Moonlight Shadow. Good awareness coming up from the support players from SSCT. Iwalk has been completely useless this entire game, hasn't been accomplished anything. In fact, he's been more of a liability just because he gave Puck essentially a free lane. He wasn't able to compete for last hits. In terms of his net worth, he's a lot lower now than almost every hero apart from the Disruptor on the enemy team. So he's got that much going for him at least. He's now got that value point up in Wex, so he can try to invoke Ghost Walk if he needs to. Also has the Deafening Blast, so he can combo that with the Meatball, follow up with the Sunstrike. But as of this moment, looks like he's going for the Force Staff, so he's building a very old school cross Wex Invoker build. That's not only obsolete, it's also not on the right regents. So curious decision making coming on from TDT. Non-Lon mech up on him as well as the Blink Dagger. He's now level 11. While I was talking about Darkseer being a very greedy offlane here in the sense that he needs level 10, level 11 as well as a few items. He's been given that space to get those items. They've executed this game perfectly. They've gone for kills they have. They've gone for towers. They've made sure to punish TDT for going for their greedy Invoker pickup. To go for punish them for their unconventional carry pickup with the sniper, as well as the unconventional offlaner with the Omni Knight. Omni Knight has been fairly effective in the lane stage of the game. He didn't die until very much later on, once the laning stage had ended. However, the disadvantage of the Omni Knight is the fact that you've got two heroes that are incredibly effective at disrupting him from being able to use any abilities. You've got Disruptor, Static Storm, which has got 0 cast point, so you use that to completely prevent him, even if he's mid-cast, from using any of his spells, as well as Puck's Waning Rift, which always seems to be catching out the Omni Knight, so good recognition coming out from the Puck player. Knowing the biggest weakness of Omni Knight, the only thing that keeps him even remotely balanced is the fact that he has such a huge cast point. Crab Pack hovering around, bodyguarding the understudy. The understudy has that free lifesteal coming out from Crab Pack. Looks like he's going for the Maelstrom. Ends in Ring going in with the Blink Burrow Epicenter just on the understudy. He knows that if he's able to catch him out on his own, he can probably go for a kill, but support is there. Ends in Ring forces a Sandstorm, going to use that 1.5 seconds of invisibility to keep himself alive. Notra with Repel up, trying to man run up against Non-Long, but it's going to be very careful, especially since he gets Dagon to the face. In exchange for all of that, they don't really gain all too much to blow a lot of abilities. They only get 1 kill off the back of that. And Non-Long actually could be taken for. Ray Fire Blast lands on him. Ice Path as well, the Ice Wall, sorry, as well as a few more right clicks with the Starstorm. They're able to trade 1 for 1. But while that's happening, so he's not even there. That was a 4v5 engagement, and he takes their bottom tier too. So good trade coming out from SSCT. With Solo recognizing that he's not going to be able to get there in time, so he might as well take the tower. Make their deaths worthwhile. Level 2 Reincarnate now up in the Wraith King. So they've got a much bigger window of opportunity to go in for these engagements. The Reincarnate coming out significantly lower. 14,000 EXP lead, 24 minutes into the game, and 12,000 gold lead. That's all due to the CSing, as you can see. Almost all the... Actually, never mind. It's not too based on CSing at all. It's actually based off all the amount of kills they've got, as well as the towers. They've only taken 1 tower over for TDT compared to the 3 towers that they've lost, including in Tier 2, as well as all the kills that they've been able to take. Even though they actually are being able to get a lot more last hits, since they've been giving a lot more space to farm a lane on their own. While SSCT, they've been grouping up a lot more, going for these group engagements. They've been making those engagements worthwhile by getting these important kills on critical heroes. Gonna take a quick drink of water while the game is paused. TDT, if they want any hope of being able to recover from this game, they need to try to avoid engagements for as long as possible, try to pick up a few more key items in their core hero. Sniper needs to pick up his Maelstrom so he can do a lot more damage. Omni Knight needs a few more levels in Repel. He needs to finish that mech as well, and he also needs to hang back and position himself so that they can't silence the Omni Knight at all, since if he gets silenced, the game is already over. All he has to do is use his Guardian Angel and keep the Repel up on Sniper during critical moments, and Sniper can pretty much right-click down their entire team. Wraith King, he's got Reincarnate, so he has to get up in the thick of it, try to draw as much fire as possible from the rest of his team. But some good recognition coming from SSCT. They're ignoring the Wraith King, more or less leaving him to his own devices, trying to focus on everybody else. Mirana's been doing the best that she can, been laying some fantastic arrows every so often. But at this point into the game, arrows just aren't quite cutting it, especially considering how low she is. Puck can instantly kill her with the Illusory Orb as well as the Dagon with the Waning Rift. Her combo is enough to instantly kill Mirana. And so Puck's Dagon, he's actually upgrading it, so a very cocky build coming out from SSCT's Puck. Dagon level 3 coming up from him. And he'll be having level 4 very shortly. If he's actually able to get a Dagon 5 in the next few minutes, actually will be quite worthwhile if he's able to keep picking off heroes. Invoker, the inefficient item build coming out from him, as well as the wrong skill build. He really needs to go across Wex, but since there was a Puck, he was forced to go across Exort. Hasn't been able to make it work as well. And so that puts his team deeper and deeper into this hole. Since in the team fight, Invoker, outside of maybe the Deafening Blast and the Meatball combination, isn't able to do enough to justify how much farm and time and space he's been given. Whereas the Sniper, he's able to plink away, do a lot of damage, try to assassinate people as they retreat. Invoker just doesn't have that sheer teamfight presence, as opposed to if he went cross Wex, even if he was being completely crushed in lane, if he's able to passively leech EXP, if he's able to try to harass out the Puck, or take CS where he can, or have some support to maybe rotate and try to go for some kills, if he's completely on point with his EMPs and with his Cold Snap juggling, he can be used that to at least have a bit more teamfight presence. So that way, when SSCT group up survive, when they go for these huge engagements, you still have the Tornado EMP combo to buy yourself some space, to be able to disrupt their initiation, and then try to take fights off the back of that. Looks like pause is continuing. Looks like one of the players is over in the bathroom. Will be interesting to see what both teams choose to react. SSCT, they could continue to keep grouping up and fighting. They can keep fighting as 4 while the Lifestealer continues to farm. Solo over the bottom lane, going to be building towards that Abyssal Blade. He'll be having it up in 1,100 gold. Once he has that, he's absolutely terrifying. I mean, he's scary enough as it is. He just walks up, so that's right-clicking people down. However, if TDT are able to find some of their core items, they're able to get that mech up. If they could take one good fight, they could start to slowly turn it around. Since breaching high ground is going to be fairly difficult for SSCT, assuming TDT are able to position themselves effectively, so they have to wait for the initiation to come out from the enemy team. They space out, so they could force, for instance, if the SK blinks in, is only able to catch out one with the Virus Strike, they're able to immediately react. They can disrupt these engagements. With that being said, SK always has the benefit of being able to initiate with the Epicenter as well. And he knows that he's got the puck as well as the Darkseer to help him out with the Dream Coil Vacuum combination. Silent just barely whiffs over on Crapback. Looks like he just wants to farm. Instead, decided to give up on the Blink Dagger, choosing to go for the Blade Mail. So he knows that he's not going to be initiating in this game. They're not going to have that initiating capacity, so instead they're going to rely on counter initiation. So Blade Mail is a great pickup on the Wraith King, just because especially against a team with a lot of uncontrollable AoE, such as what SSCT have. The ability like Epicenter is going to be returned. It means that with the Reincarnate, he doesn't really care if he tanks a lot of damage, since he's going to be coming back to life anyway. They've got no way to prevent Wraith King from reincarnating, so no Necro Book up on them. No Diffusal Blade to perhaps try to purge off some mana. Enter range, channeling the Epicenter. A 3-man Epicenter. Barrow Strike follows up with the longest static storm. Crap actually walks into it, calling the vacuum wall as well. He's going to take a fall. Reincarnate pops. Entered Rain, however, dies. But on the back end, I Walk completely fleeing for his life, forced to use the Ghost Walk. Crapback's reincarnated back. They could turn around solo, but understood he's going to be taking a fall, especially without the Omni Knight there to bodyguard him. I Walk came out of Ghost Walk for whatever reason. He's going to be losing his life to this. Unless his force staff is actually able to go off cooldown, and by one more right click from the park is able to finish him off. You can't destroy that. The Glimpse ensures that you take one more casualty, since you can't retreat away from a Disruptor, and they're going to lose a Tear 2 off the back of that. Great play coming out from SSCT. The park has been completely on point with the initiations. Being jumping on the Dream Coil. You saw End Dead Rain channeling his ultimate, knowing that his teammates are about to jump in. Good execution and coordination coming out from their team. And Omni Knight, once again, wasn't able to get his Guardian Angel off, wasn't able to get his Repel off. He was called out in the initial silence and died instantly, so good focus fire coming out from SSCT. If you could kill Omni Knight before he gets any of his abilities off, then you've effectively won the fight, especially when you have a lead this high. It's the only way that they could try to turn fights around is if they get a good Guardian Angel off, they get a good Repel off from the right hero. But even then, Guardian Angel is somewhat mitigated by the fact that Puck can just Dagon them down anyway if they're low enough. Guardian Angel only stops physical damage, does nothing against the magical damage of the Dagon. Puck actually can choose to upgrade it to a level 5, which enables him to basically one-shot the 1-2-shot the Sniper, Blink, Waning Rift, and then follow up with the Dagon. Might have to commit the Illusory Orb as well, come to think of it. But if they could instantly start the fight by either killing him off or by killing off the Omni Knight, puts them in a great position. He's out hunting at the moment. Could also choose to start building towards a Sheepstick to provide an extra form of lockdown. But from the look of it, they're winning these fights just off the first salvo of spells that they throw out, just because it does so much damage out to the key heroes that they need to kill off, because they're able to kill the counter initiation heroes that TDT have. Omni Knight still nowhere near finishing his mech, even though he had such a great laning stage with very little harassment being done to him, with no kill attempts actually succeeding. The fact that the instant team fights happen, he hasn't been able to accomplish anything at all. He keeps dying in these engagements. Not able to get the critical repels off, not even able to get Guardian Angel off. Has cost them dearly. I Walk over in the Invoker. It'll be interesting to see what he chooses to go for next. Ideally, you'd want something like a Orchid of Malevolence or a Sheepstick to counteract the Puck. But in this case, I think you'd settle for just about any item at this point. Even having something like a Yule Scepter could help out. Blade Mail now up on the Wraith King, so he's got that to use. He's got Reincarnate up very shortly, so they're going to try to defend this Tattoo. They've got all their ultimates up at the same time. So this SSCT, they really should be backing away right now. They can't take engagements, even if they are able to get all their abilities off. Force Staff cutting around Crapback. Arrow flies out over on the Hasted Puck, who doesn't really care. He's just able to phase shift Illusory Orb, Ethereal Jaunt out. And they're just wasting time. And Dead Rain hiding in the trees, he's been very on point. He's actually reveals himself, blinks in, decides to back out while it's happening in the background. One-man Dream Coil, never mind, two-man able to catch out the carry, as well as Notro. Once again, no Guardian Angel, always caught out with the silence. Crapback caught up in the Static Storm, he's going to die, and that's a wasted Reincarnator, making sure to kill Wraith King at the very end to ensure that the Reincarnate snare is going to be useful at all. caught up with the first hit bash as well as the open wounds. One more right click, and Puck is completely stomping all over TDT. Teamfight heavy lineup of SSCT. Well, it does have a lot of moving parts. They are executing it perfectly. It's all off the back of this Puck, as well as our NZ Rain's been playing an absolutely phenomenal Sand King. None of his epicenters have been whiffed. Every single one of them has landed on point. He's constantly able to hide in the trees, come out exactly when he needs to, consistently land 2 3-man burrow strikes, and then follow up with the epicenter. In that fight, he didn't even have to use the epicenter. Looks like he now has a Shiva's Guard on top of that, so he could be building something like a Veil of Discord now, would synergize very well, the magic heavy lineup that they have. Puck is holding onto his gold now. At this rate, he might as well just hold on safe for Sheepstick. Over in the bottom lane, looks like actually trying to go for a kill attempt over on Nado Squirrel, who was farming the bottom lane for whatever reason, unfortunately able to get out. And to Squirrel, NZ Rain now called out, trapped with the creep wave, but he's got Burrow Strike as well as Blink. So he's going to be able to clear his way out using that Caustic Finale to help clear out the wave. Never mind, looks like Puck's going to decide to go towards the Dagon 5 anyway, just because an 800 burst damage nuke on a very short cooldown, 15-second cooldown. Looks like he's going to start building towards an E-Blade. So Puck's going to be feeling that Morphling shotgun roll of just being able to walk and blow somebody up at the very start of a fight, and make sure you're always fighting 4v5, and considering how effective it's been, being able to blow up the Omni Knight or the Sniper. And you see Invoker during his engagement, there's absolutely nothing he could do. He doesn't have the Tornado to be the disrupt their initiation once they go in. He doesn't have the EMP to at least drain that mana to make sure they can't follow up with further spells. All he has is the Ice Wall. And even then, at this point, the high mobility, by the time the Ice Wall's dropped, you've already have 1-2 heroes down. Lifestealer's going to be able to pick up the free Aegis. He actually went for an S and Y. Provides him a lot more chase and sustainability. Guess he doesn't necessarily need the Abyssal Blade yet. Just wants a bit more chase so that he can't be kited. But once he's able to pick up the Abyssal Blade, the noose is tightening if it hasn't tightened already. Over 20,000 gold lead in favor of SSCT, as well as a 25,000 EXP lead. NZ Rain, Shiva's Guard up on him, probably wants to farm up the Veil of Discord now. So we're actually copying a lot of damage. Decided to solo Roshan, actually could be taking a fall to Roshan if he's not careful. Non-Lon runs in, he's got the mech coming off cooldown very shortly. Feast unfortunately doesn't work on Roshan, would just be a wee bit of a power if it was. You're going to be able to take that Roshan. That looks like probably an Aegis up on the Lifestealer.
The Radiant have carved their names in history. Roshan has fallen.
Bit of a lag spike there. And so Lifestealer now with the Aegis the Immortal. He can YOLO solo dive whenever he wants to. Puck with the Dagon 5. Gonna do a lot of work, especially since he's about 2,000 gold. 2,200 off from his E-Blade. Once he has that E-Blade, he could already instantly kill any hero he wants to. It's going to be even easier now. He could probably instantly kill the Invoker at that point. Instantly kill the Omni Knight, start of the fight. Or if he really wanted to, kill off the Wraith King. But just having that sheer amount of burst damage really helps counteract the Omni Knight, since he can only repel one target at a time, and he hasn't even been able to get that repel off. The Blink initiation from the Puck has been absolutely on point. Crab Pack is a pretty sad Wraith King. He's completely ignored in these fights, and when they do turn around to fight him, it's usually when he's the last man standing. When his teammates are dead or too far away to help. Puck goes in with the haste rune. Silencer is repelled up this time, so going to turn around and do a bit of damage. Arrow actually flies out, catches out Puck, but immediately 4-star cuts him out. Blink Burrow, Epi Strike, catches out 3. Fantastic combo coming up at NZ range. Shiva's Guard as well on top of that. Very short range Tornado as well as the Chaos Meter. It's the first time I've actually seen him use that. Repel's been used on I Walk, but he's at such low HP that he can't do anything besides from back off. Buyback's been forced on the Sniper, and they've lost all their teamfight ults. They should probably back off right now just to play it safe, because they know that there's still Guardian Angel up. But they're going to push the luck. They've got the Aegis the Immortal, and I guess when you can instantly kill someone like that, you don't have to be afraid of much. Understood, he's still repelled up, but the repel's about to wear off. There's an Abyssal Blade, and solo walks him and stuns him. Vacuum just for shits and gigs, and they smack him down. That's a Sniper without buyback, who's now lost a significant amount of gold, and GG's been called. Now the Squirrel, they've had enough. Looks like we're moving to game number 3. So well played from SSCT. Was very surprised at how well they executed their draft, especially concerning a few questionable strategic decisions, but they were able to execute a lot better than TD2, who went for a few off-the-wall picks, weren't able to really accomplish all too much with them. It's a bit them in the arse. It'll be interesting to see how both teams play in game number 3. Just going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.